Hey guys, how are you today? Quick rant before we dive into today's chaos. As some of you might have noticed, YouTube's algorithm has decided I'm not special anymore. Shocking, I know. So now if you don't like, comment, or do a little backflip in the algorithm's honor, this video might just vanish into the void, never to be seen again. Seriously though, even a hi or "this is wild" in the comments helps way more than you think. It tells YouTube, hey, people actually like this channel. Maybe don't hide it from everyone. That can really help push my videos out to a wider audience, not just to my subscribers. So if you enjoy these stories and want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Now grab a drink, get comfy, and enjoy the drama. You won't want to miss this one. This happened recently, and I'm still processing it. Even though I've always thought of myself as a loyal sister and someone who values empathy above all else, I can't lie. This situation has pulled me into a place where sympathy and resentment are tangled in a knot I haven't figured out how to untie. My sister Claire is 38. She's my only sibling. We're not terribly close, but we've always done the usual birthday calls, family dinners, occasional venting sessions. Over the last year, though, we've been talking more. Not by choice, but because of what she's been going through. Claire was diagnosed with breast cancer about 14 months ago. She underwent a mastectomy, then rounds of chemo and hormone therapy. It was brutal on her, physically and emotionally. There were days she couldn't get out of bed, days when she was so nauseated that she couldn't even keep water down, and days when she lashed out at everyone because she was scared and exhausted. It was hard to watch, and even harder to support at times, but I did my best. I drove her to a few appointments when her husband Mark couldn't. I sat with her while she slept off medications. I helped with the kids when she had no energy left. My parents were very involved too. They practically moved in for a few months during her lowest point. Everyone in the family dropped everything to be there for her, and no one complained. It was what needed to be done, and we all did it with love. Mark, her husband, was there through it all, at least from what I could see. He's 40, and honestly, I never had strong opinions about him either way. He always seemed kind, quiet, and a good person. He's not the big emotional declarations kind of guy, but I remember thinking that he was always present when it was needed. I saw him sitting beside her during chemo, gently rubbing her back when she threw up. I saw him quietly taking over dinner duties and school drop-offs without making a fuss. I saw him standing off to the side when everyone else fussed over Claire, quietly doing the background work that no one notices, the groceries, the cleaning, the mental load. So you can imagine the collective shockwave that went through our family when, about a month after Claire entered remission, Mark asked her for a divorce. Claire called me that night, sobbing so hard she couldn't even form complete sentences at first. She was hysterical. It took me nearly 10 minutes just to understand that she wasn't talking about the cancer returning. No, that nightmare was over. This was a new one. Her husband, after sticking by her through hell and back, had suddenly decided he was done. According to her, he sat her down one night after dinner and told her, very calmly, that he couldn't do it anymore. That he loved her, but the marriage had run its course, and he wanted out. That was it. Within days, everyone in the family knew. Our parents were horrified. Friends started showing up at her door with wine and casseroles. Her Facebook timeline turned into a support group for scorned women. People started posting things like, "You deserve so much better, Claire," and "Real men don't abandon their wives after cancer." There were dozens of variations of, "How could he leave her now?" and "She gave him everything and he just walks away?" And honestly, I get it. On the surface, it looks heartless. Claire had just clawed her way back from the edge of death, and now her husband was jumping ship? People love a villain, and Mark made it easy to cast him in that role. But here's the part no one wants to hear. The part Claire never told anyone. The part that makes this entire situation so much more complicated, and far less black and white. Because 5 years ago, when he was the one drowning, Claire left him. Back then, Mark owned a small chain of auto repair shops. He'd built it from the ground up, poured years of effort into it. Then the pandemic hit. His business was one of the many that didn't survive. Within 6 months, 2 of his 3 shops had closed. Revenue tanked. Loans were denied. The last location was barely keeping the lights on. He was working double shifts, laying off employees he considered friends, skipping meals to stretch what little money was left. Claire, during this time, was a ghost. She told me on more than one occasion that she didn't sign up for this, meaning the financial instability. She would make little digs, like asking why he couldn't just get a real job instead of playing entrepreneur. One time she told me she was embarrassed to show her face at their daughter's ballet recital because all the other moms had husbands with real careers. And then one day, she packed a bag, took the kids, and moved back in with our parents. She told Mark she'd come back when he was stable again. I remember trying to talk to her about it, but she shut me down with, "I need to think about the kids. I can't let them grow up in survival mode. He's a grown man. If he wants his family, he can figure it out." For the next year, Mark worked like a dog to claw his way out of the hole. He eventually got a job in a logistics company, moved into a rental, and rebuilt himself. And when Claire saw that he was back on his feet, she went back to him. Just like that. They never divorced. She never apologized. She just reintegrated into his life like nothing had happened, and he let her. I asked him why once. I said, "You ever think about just walking away when she left?" He smiled, this sad little smile, and said, "Every day." But I had nothing left in me to fight. I just wanted my kids to have a family again, even if I had to swallow my pride to give them that. So when Claire started telling everyone that Mark abandoned her, that he was cold and ungrateful, and just like all men who leave when women are no longer useful, I couldn't stomach it. I stayed quiet for a while. I kept showing up when she needed help. I bit my tongue during the dinner table rants, but this past weekend she pushed me too far. We were at our parents' house for Sunday dinner. The kids were playing in the backyard. Claire was holding court at the table, retelling the story for the umpteenth time. How Mark blindsided her, how she sacrificed everything for him, how men always crumble under pressure while women carry the world on their shoulders. Everyone nodded. My mom even started tearing up. And then Claire looked at me and said, "You've been awfully quiet. Don't you have anything to say about how he destroyed our family?" I don't know what came over me. I put my fork down and said, as calmly as I could manage, "Are we really going to pretend you didn't leave him when he was the one struggling? That you took the kids and moved out because being married to a man without money was too uncomfortable for you? Well, I think karma came after you now." The room froze. Claire stared at me like I had slapped her. My father's mouth dropped open. My mom whispered, "What are you saying?" And I kept going. "I'm saying that Mark may have left you last month, but you left him first. And not just emotionally, you walked out. You took the kids, moved back in here, and only returned when he started earning again. That wasn't being a supportive wife. That was convenience. And maybe now you know what it felt like when he was alone and struggling and you weren't there." Claire stormed out. My mother scolded me for being cruel and reopening wounds. My father said I was being disloyal to my own sister. Several family members texted me later saying they were disappointed in me. But here's the thing. I didn't say any of it to hurt her. I said it because I'm tired of this selective storytelling. I'm tired of everyone turning Mark into a villain when the truth is far messier. I feel deeply for what Claire went through physically. I can't imagine the pain of fighting cancer, the fear of mortality, the trauma of it all. But emotional trauma cuts both ways. And what she did to Mark 5 years ago, that was abandonment too. So now I turn to you, Reddit. Am I the asshole for refusing to support my sister's narrative and calling out her role in the collapse of her marriage, even though she just survived cancer? Honestly, I think what OP said needed to be said, even if it wasn't pretty. OP's sister has every right to grieve the end of her marriage, and yes, fighting cancer is unimaginably hard, but that doesn't erase the way she treated her husband when he was the one struggling. The fact that she left him during his financial collapse, took the kids, and only came back when he was stable again. That's not just inconvenient history, that's the emotional blueprint for their entire relationship. People love to simplify complex situations into heroes and villains. But what OP did was pull back the curtain. OP reminded everyone that pain isn't a competition and that support should go both ways. OP is not heartless. OP is just tired of watching someone weaponize sympathy while denying accountability. And now let's hear community's opinion. It's wild how people conveniently forget the kind of emotional abandonment that doesn't come with a hospital gown or medical diagnosis. Your sister had no problem walking out when her husband was at his lowest. And now that the tables have turned, she's shocked that the foundation she cracked years ago finally gave out. Marriage is supposed to be about mutual support, not transactional loyalty based on income or who's easier to take care of. What makes this even sadder is that Mark stayed, even after she bailed, and not out of weakness, but for the kids. That's not someone who just walks away. That's someone who probably reached his breaking point years ago and only now felt allowed to breathe. You're not the villain here. You're just the only one in the family brave enough to speak the truth when everyone else wants a tidy sob story. This wasn't about kicking someone when they were down. This was about finally saying out loud what everyone else chose to ignore. I don't think people realize how common this double standard is. When men struggle, they're expected to be stoic, resourceful, and bounce back without complaint. And if they break, they're failures. But when women suffer, and don't get me wrong, cancer is horrific, the world rallies behind them, even if their own actions weren't spotless. Your sister abandoned a sinking ship and only climbed back aboard once it was repainted. And then she acts like she's the only one whose suffering matters. That's not fair. Mark may have timed the divorce poorly, but I suspect he waited until she was physically strong enough to stand on her own, because that's the kind of man he is. You didn't shame her. You just didn't let her erase the parts that made her uncomfortable. Not the a-hole. Your sister has been performing this whole situation like she's the star of a tragedy, and everyone around her is supposed to play their supporting role and clap at the end. But you know what? Real life isn't a performance. Real pain isn't one-sided, and real marriages don't survive when support is only given when it's convenient. I respect that you didn't just blow up for drama. You waited, you helped her, and only when she demanded validation did you speak the truth. And maybe she needed to hear it, even if she didn't want to. Because if she really wants healing, it has to start with accountability. Not just for her illness, but for the cracks she helped create long before Mark walked away. I, 26 female, and my ex, 28 male, Danny, had planned a Disney trip to celebrate my birthday, and he had agreed to cover 90% of the expenses, with me paying the remaining 10%. Unfortunately, we broke up before the trip was scheduled to take place. Danny is now demanding either to come on the trip with me or to get his money back. I don't feel this is right, as he agreed to cover the majority of the costs. Additionally, my new boyfriend Jimmy, 31 male, is telling me I don't have to repay Danny. My sister, Wanda, 23 female, is advising me to pay Danny back to avoid legal issues. However, I disagree with her opinion, as we had both agreed upon the terms of the trip before our breakup. I feel that it would be unfair for Danny to receive his money back, since we both knew the risks involved when planning the trip together. Danny has threatened to take us to court, which has caused me unnecessary stress and anxiety. I don't feel like he has a strong case, as the arrangement was verbal, and there was no formal contract in place. I'm saddened that Danny would even consider taking legal action against me over such a trivial matter. Why the heck are you still going on the trip if you only paid 10%? Danny should be going with his new girlfriend. Bare minimum, he's entitled to use the ticket he bought for himself and stay in the hotel room he booked, and any travel or air expenses. He agreed to pay for a trip he was going on too. He's under no obligation to fund your vacation with a new boyfriend. You're the a-hole, big time. You're the a-hole. Danny agreed to pay 90% for a trip you were going on together, not for a trip you were going on without him. Danny has threatened to take us to court, which has caused me unnecessary stress and anxiety. Then pay him back. I'm saddened that Danny would even consider taking legal action against me over such a trivial matter. If it's so trivial, pay him the money. Your verbal agreement was likely contingent on him joining you on the trip. You should ask this question in a legal advice sub. Morally, though, you're the a-hole. If the tables were turned, would you want to pay an ex who had already moved on for their vacation that was supposed to be yours as a couple? Your new beau sounds rude, too, if he's planning to get a free trip off your ex. If you own no property together and have no children, you get to never see or speak to each other again. I, female 55, have two sons, Mike, male 32, and Jack, male 24. Mike is engaged to Sarah, his partner of 3 years, while Jack started dating his then classmate, Rose, female 24, 8 years ago. I love Sarah, as she's a sweet, easygoing woman, and I can't wait for her to get married with my son. However, I don't have a good opinion of Rose. I'm almost sure she's with my son only until she'll find someone better, as I must heavy-heartedly admit that she's more good-looking and intelligent than Jack. She has many male friends with whom she's regularly going out, and almost no female ones. She goes all flirty with my hubby, who obviously loves talking with her. He says it's not flirting, and she's just easy to talk with. Apparently, she also neither wants to get married nor have children, which for me is a very big red flag. All in all, she's suspicious, and I am not able to get along with her. Mike also doesn't like her, but both my husband and Jack says I'm dramatizing. In our family, we have a tradition that once per decade, we go to a photographer for a special family session. It's a special time, as the same tradition was followed by my husband's family for generations. It happened that we did our last photo session 10 years ago, so we decided it's the highest time to make a new one. My husband suggested this time we would invite Rose and Sarah, Mike's fiancée, as in his opinion, they're both part of the family by now. I told him I'm okay with Sarah being on the shoot, as she and Mike are engaged, so she'll be our daughter-in-law soon. But I don't want Rose there, because her relationship with Jack isn't serious enough, and this event is family only. Jack got visibly upset and told me he's dating Rose for a longer time than Mike is with Sarah. I tried to explain to him she isn't serious, since she doesn't want to marry him, but he called me close-minded and prejudiced. What hurt me is that not only my husband openly supported him, which I sort of expected as he adores Rose, but also Mike, though reluctantly. I tried to explain to them I just don't want all of us to see her on the photo if she and Jack would break up, but I only made situation worse. Jack went as far as to tell me that if I don't agree for Rose to be on the photo, he will not be there too, and that I'm just jealous of her. Now both my husband and Jack don't talk to me at all. I want to mend our relationship, but I still think I didn't do anything wrong, as I only try to protect my boy from getting hurt. Am I really the a-hole? You're the a-hole. Your son is right. You are being close-minded and prejudiced about this. Not everyone shares your values and expectations. They seem to be happy for 8 years, and none of the reasons you listed are valid reasons for disliking someone. Maybe jealousy does play into it, but from my point of view, that doesn't even matter. Your son and his girlfriend have been together for 8 years, and you think they're not serious? You're lying to yourself. My compliments to your son for being a stand-up guy who has his life partner's back, wedding vows or not. Everyone seems to have accepted her as part of the family. Only you can't because of a legal contract that more and more people don't want to sign into this day and age. I'm trying to be polite here, but get over yourself. 8 years. That's longer than a whole bunch of marriages. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. Take multiple picture options, some with both ladies, some without. Do one of the brothers, one of each of the couples, one of just you and your husband. Then print the ones you want and let them get the ones they want. Super easy solution, and you don't alienate your family. My husband's sister, Melissa, is a social media influencer. She's quite famous and has a large following and at times gets commissions from popular makeup brands. She recently shifted to our city. She is really sweet, and my 13-year-old daughter, Anna, adores her. For some background, Melissa had gotten lots of grief from my in-laws in the beginning for her job choice. She is a high school dropout and didn't have any job for a long time, while my husband was really successful at school and then at his job. Melissa is really good at her work, to the point that she earns at par with her brother, and now her family has finally accepted her choice of work. Anna is really into makeup, and Melissa often gives her tips and tricks. But recently, Melissa has started telling Anna about how she became successful after dropping out from school, and you only need confidence to succeed, not a degree, and that what you study at school doesn't really have much value in real life. While I agree that education is not everything, Anna is very easily influenced and takes things at face value. 2 days ago, at dinner, she spoke about how she hates school and wants to leave as soon as she can. I don't have anything against Melissa or her job, but I don't want Anna to resent school and undermine the importance of education, because dropping out of school doesn't work for everyone. Yesterday, I called Melissa and told her that maybe it would be better if she didn't talk too much about how studies aren't that important in her job, as Anna is at a really impressionable age. Melissa got offended and said that no one respects her job, and I am insulting her intelligence. I thought that Melissa was taking things to a stretch, as I hadn't even mentioned her job. She cut the phone and isn't answering anymore. Am I the a-hole here? Not the a-hole, and Melissa is lucky. She found a niche for now. Being an influencer is not a life career. It's a flash in the pan. What is Melissa going to do when the influencer craze is over? Or when younger influencers come along and clothing and makeup brands switch to them? She'll have no education or skills to fall back on. You were right in telling her to back off with Anna. Not the a-hole. There's a difference between talking about being a successful social influencer and telling a teenager about how school is not important. For most jobs, a degree gets you considered for the job, and confidence to succeed, along with hard work, allows you to be successful. Not the a-hole. Respecting Melissa's job and respecting education aren't mutually exclusive. You can do both. She didn't find her education worthwhile. Great, no problems. It doesn't make that automatically true for everyone else. And it certainly doesn't give her the right to convince your daughter that her education isn't worth it. You've now set the boundaries as Anna's parent, and Melissa needs to respect that. Not the a-hole. Good for her for being successful, but no one can ignore the fact that this whole influencer phenomenon is horrible and really bad for the mental health of young, impressionable people. Maybe you should ask your husband to talk with his sister. My girlfriend and I recently found out that she's pregnant. We've been dating about 2 years, and while this was in the plans, it's come sooner than expected. We're both excited and have been waiting to tell family for weeks. We just went to the first ultrasound and found out that everything is going well, and so far the baby is healthy. My grandmother called and asked if we could come over and hang her new smart TV at her house. On the way over, we came up with a plan on how to tell everyone. Once the TV was hung, I would go over all the new features of the TV, as this is the first time they've had a smart TV. We would tell them about screen mirroring, and that's when I would mirror my phone and bring up the ultrasound photos. Cue the moment. We've been there for about 2 hours and have everything mounted and completed. Now, mind you, my aunt lives at my grandparents' and has been upstairs the entire time. Once I mirrored my phone and showed them, everyone was very excited. My mother, who was also there, began crying because she was so happy. We have been talking for about only 2 minutes before my aunt came downstairs and began crying. She was obviously upset about something. She stated that she also would like to make an announcement. She then proceeded to tell everyone that her son and daughter-in-law are preparing to adopt a newborn and that my aunt was against it. Her reasons were that my cousin and his wife already have 2 kids and that genetically we wouldn't know what could potentially be wrong with the adopted baby. Her reasons, not mine. She was also upset that she was told weeks after they began the process, which, if you don't know, could take months or even a year. We listened to her cry on and on about this for about 10 minutes before I had had enough. I told her that she was making this special day where my girlfriend and I announced to the family all about herself and how she feels about something completely different. Mind you, we had been there for 2 hours, and she waited 2 minutes after we announced this for her to come down and say this. She immediately went into defensive mode and started trying to guilt trip me on how I reacted, so we just left. Honestly, I didn't even know there was an anti-adoption stance, and thought it was honestly a pretty hot take anyways. The rest of the family were on board with them adopting. My girlfriend sat quietly taking this all in, and she actually found this whole encounter pretty wild and hilarious. My grandparents didn't say much during this fiasco, as they have come to just deal with her. So I was wondering, was I in the wrong and am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Apparently your aunt is one of those people who is never happy if they aren't center of attention 100% of the time. Ignore her. Not the a-hole. Someone has to slap some reality into your aunt. This is her kid's life, and if she doesn't fix her crap, she will be on the road to no contact. And no wonder they waited until they were about to adopt to inform her. And regardless, she was being petty and trying to gain pity points. Not the a-hole. What she did was uncalled for, and an a-hole move for sure, if it was intentional. And she should have at least let the room breathe before making her own announcement. Something about that screams attention seeker on her end. The only thing I would call you an a-hole for is somehow feeling entitled to a spotlight, plus the time and space in the room, even though your announcement, just like hers, was extremely abrupt and a spur-of-the-moment decision. Other than that, she's the a-hole. Her reasonings are also terrible, and the fact that she even opposes to adoption is extremely strange. Children need homes. I, 21 female, have been with my boyfriend, 24 male, for 4 years. We are both in college and don't have a lot of money altogether because of that. I have more money saved up, but that's only for college, so I don't really even consider that money that I have, if that makes sense. So I am deathly allergic to peanuts, and it has been this way my whole life. I was told even the smallest speck could kill me. I've been very careful, and in my entire life, I've only had to use my EpiPen twice. My boyfriend knows this, yet he continues to eat peanut products. But I just make sure not to kiss him when he has had something peanut that day. He washes, etc. Personally, I never liked that he didn't just stop because I feel like he was putting me in danger. But I also couldn't force him to stop either, and it has worked for the past 4 years. What happened? So he came over into my dorm and we were just hanging out, and he kissed me, and a couple of minutes later, I could feel my throat swelling and my lips getting bigger. I instantly knew that I was having an allergic reaction. I grabbed my EpiPen and shot it into my leg and told my boyfriend to take me to the ER. Even with the EpiPen, I was struggling and was nearly passing out. My boyfriend was really freaking out too. Once I got to the ER, I was taken in, and the last I remember was passing out on the wheelchair in. I woke up and my reaction was down, and I was having the side effects of the adrenaline, but overall okay. I got my phone out, and my phone was blown up with apologies on how he forgot he ate a Reese's cup, and he was so sorry and to please forgive him. Once I finally got home and settled down, my parent picked me up. I told my boyfriend he should be responsible for my medical bill and a new EpiPen. The other one my school has, and he was telling me he has no money and he can't, and that I have more money than him, etc. I was pretty peeved off at him because he just nearly killed me, and now he won't even take responsibility for my medical bills. Well, word got out to his family, and I received rude text from his mom saying it's my allergy, so I should have to pay the medical bill, and I was the one irresponsible. I got mad and texted my boyfriend saying it was dumb to bring his mom into this, then proceeded to say if he doesn't, I'm going to take him to small claims court because I don't have an extra $5,000 to spare for a medical bill. He got very upset, and I'm pretty sure our relationship is over now. I've gotten a lot more text from his mom now, and from his sisters, and I'm choosing to ignore them. My parents agree with me that I should go and do that, but I'm just not sure. So, would I be the a-hole? Not the a-hole, but it was irresponsible for you to let this relationship go on so long with someone who clearly doesn't care about putting your life at risk. I'm not sure if you'll win. That's better served for another thread. But I don't think you're the a-hole for expecting him to take responsibility for coming to kiss you right after eating a life-threatening allergen. Not the a-hole. You've been in a relationship with him for 4 years, and he forgot he ate something you're allergic to? He clearly doesn't care about your well-being. If someone I loved had a deadly allergy, I would do everything in my power to keep them safe. Why won't he do that for you? Everyone sucks here. You know you could die, but you're staying with a guy who puts you in danger. Then, when you are in danger, you expect him to pay. You have a weird relationship, and he doesn't love you. FYI, you can win in civil court and maybe even be awarded money, but it doesn't mean he'll pay.